So I am live, and live. How is everyone doing? Hope well. Hope you're doing great. I see that Gerner is in the house. Good to see you, my brother. Greetings from sunny Devon, UK. Yeah, man, I gotta make it that way once you all welcome us Americans back. Once you all open your doors to America again. You know what I mean? I don't blame you. You know, keeping us at arm's distance, bro. But it's like crazy time here. But it's good to see you. Well, good that you are in on the chat, my brother. It is really good. Hope you are doing well. And I'm doing okay. Yep. So let me get to the main page. And so everybody roll call and check in with a brother and let me know what's going on. Hope you all are doing well. Still getting my technical bearings because, you know, when you're streaming, you're using 2 bits of software here. So I have OBS on one side, which is giving me real time, and on a delay there is the chat coming through YouTube stream. So yes, Mr. Smooth, yes, it's been a minute, brother. It's been a minute. You know, I'm doing okay. Hope you're doing all right. You know, I'm trying to make sure I look in the camera. All right, let's see, y'all. Been a little busy, you know, and I got a busy week coming up, a really busy week coming up. So, but I definitely wanted to connect with everybody, and you know, I've been getting a ton of questions around a whole bunch of topics. So hopefully those who have been hopefully this information, I should say, will help someone that's tuning in live, if not on replay, those individuals that ask those questions, because on the heels of the 1073 video, as well as a whole host of other, you know, how do you set a compressor, and one very important issue that I want to get to today surrounding gain staging in terms of preamps, as well as using a compressor. A young man had reached out to me with regards to how one is supposed to be set. So if you guys can weigh in, tell me how you've been, then we'll get right into it. So tell me what's going on in you all's world. Be as detailed as possible. Anybody want to tell me? I am listening. Yeah. So we got, let's see. I can't tell how many people are online yet. Jorge said, I wish I could make it. I've got some lessons. Best of luck, bro. Oh, okay, man. Listen, thanks, man. I appreciate that. You know, hope you can tune in later and see what we've been talking about. But this whole issue with the you know, I guess, you know, youngsters getting adjusted to using analog gear in a digital setup, it all gets back to one thing: gain staging, and that's of utmost importance. So I hope to clarify a few things with regards to that. Ninja 6485 teaching 5 college courses. Wow, pretty good, man. None of them know how to but we're yeah, man, this whole situation is a little rough for everybody, you know, because my wife is an educator as well. And yeah, man, this is an adjustment. This is a major adjustment in terms of guess what? Now those individuals that were not educators, parents being one of them, guess what you have to do now? You have to, you know, spend your time online teaching kids. So it's an adjustment, man. But you know, we're made out of rubber, so we'll make that adjustment on the fly. You know what I mean? But yeah, adapting can be rough for some people. You know, some people don't just shift gears as easily as others. So, but that's good, man. 5 college courses teaching. That's good. Are you an adjunct or are you a tenured professor? You can let me know in the comments below. Lucas Jr. Hi, Warren. Hope you're doing great. Cheers from... Oh, Lucas, my brother. Good, man. Good. Yeah, man. From Portugal, man. I appreciate you tuning in because I know there's a time difference. But listen, man, it's good to chat with you. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you being here. You could tell me what's going on in your world, what you're working on, and that's a good situation. Okay. Someone like me. So I'm going to be looking at several different things. I have a couple of notes here on my right. He's adjunct broke. Nah, listen, I have several friends of mine that are adjunct. I mean, they get paid like $150 a class. And some of them teach like 4 classes a day. So, you can make some cash. I'm not, listen, I was never an adjunct professor, but I did try my hand at teaching and it lasted 1 year. And I think at the end of that year, I wanted to kill the kids. So can't kill children, kill them, knock them out, spank them with a belt or something. 2x4. I shouldn't say things like that, right? But nah, man, these kids, man, where I was teaching, Jack, these kids had issues, B. I ain't gonna lie to you. And I was like not having it. I had one kid tell me, get a real job. I was like, what? Get a real job? What? What do you think I'm doing here? Playing? It's a tea party? So, yeah, but hats off to the educators. You guys have, and my wife on top of it, man, like after raising kids, she's teaching. So that's not an easy thing to do. When you got your own kids. But being a college professor, man, always looks good on the resume, B. I ain't gonna lie to you, though. I mean, as you're an adjunct, you trying to get a gig somewhere doing that. That looks stellar. So it's all good. Gerner says, I've been building a partscaster, nice sounding guitars. Oh, get out of here. Okay. That's cool. That's real cool. What kind of pickups are you going to put in there? I'd like to know. Because those pickups, man, gonna say you can't teach them, you can't shoot them. No, you can't, man. But these, no fault to the kids. I'm getting off on a tangent, but my wife, like I said, she teaches in a very challenging environment. I'll put it mildly, and you'll be surprised at the adult-like situations that these kids are going through right now. So it's the adults' fault, that the kids have such a stressful way of life. And here comes COVID, right? So one could only imagine. But yeah, man, it's rough. It's rough, man. Not like when I was a kid, all you had to worry about was what time you want to eat and what time you're going to sleep. Nowadays, these kids got major adult-like issues, So Southern King Rudy. Hey, man, what's up? I was the one that hit you up on Facebook. Okay, good. Everybody, Southern King Rudy is in the house. He's the one that hit me up on Facebook about the KT2A, which is very important. I am so glad you tuned in, bro, because there's something that you have to understand from the outset about utilizing that unit. What you could do for me in the meantime is tell me what your setup is, and this way I can guide you a little bit better, because without knowing what interface or what mics or whatever you're using or how you intend to use it, is hard to guide you. You know what I mean? And it takes a while to get adjusted. And the genre of music as well is important and pertinent to using this particular compressor effectively. So we're going to address that. But that's good, man. That's good that you're here. I really appreciate it. I want to jump back to Lucas Jr., who says, remember the comment about the Behringer Auratone copy monitors? I sold them and I bought the Auratone because the Auratones don't have sellers here. You know something? It's funny that you're mentioning that about the, someone from Germany reached out to me to give me kudos, and I appreciate it, about my review with the Auratones. So before that happened, fast forward, I mean, rewind rather, to about maybe 8 months ago. Um, Someone just commented on the video, said, "Hey, you know that this company was bought by Behringer?" I'm like, "Nah, ain't no way Behringer bought Auratone," because I spoke to the owner, the grandson of the guy who started the company, who hooked me up really with the Auratones that I have, and I was grateful that he did that for me. And he and I struck up a pretty, decent conversation and relationship. We were just texting back and forth. I reached out to him recently to ask him if he in fact sold the company. He didn't even get back to me. So the fact that, Behringer has their hand in it, I guess that's good on some levels, but at the same time, one would have to question, like, if these Auratones go down at any, in terms of you blowing a cone or something like that, how do you get them serviced now? We're back at that, and the same issue I have when I'm dealing with companies on an international level, and that goes for any less than reputable company, which was one of the issues I had with the Cranbourne unit. They're not, Neve. So if the unit goes down and they're struggling as a company in terms of keeping up with whatever their dynamic is as a company, then it creates a problem for the end user, But I'm hoping that Behringer, if they're involved and in the legacy of Auratone, they, you uphold that to some degree, because those Auratones, man, I ain't gonna lie to you. Since I built the new room, which you guys can see in the back, to give you, and I'll give you a little background history on why I'm, streaming to you in the way that I am. I went back to using Auratones in the sub, and I'll tell you, it's a fantastic combination. To be spending an insane amount of money on monitors nowadays, it's almost unnecessary. If you have Auratones and a sub, your mixes will translate, and I'm telling you, they sound great in my new space. So kudos to Auratone. But to your point, the Avantones, I told them bought Avantone because the Auratones don't have sellers. Okay. Mixing model. It's like a religion for. Yeah, man. Once you get a flow, we're talking about Auratones and mixing with them. Once you get a flow as an engineer or a producer, it's hard to break that. Once you know what works, it's hard to breach that line going forward. So kudos, man. I'm glad everything's working out for you and working out well. Okay, now we're gonna jump to because I don't know how much Southern King time he has. He raised a point. This is for everybody. Let me go to his quote verbatim. I will pull that up really quick. So, hold on a second. I'm on. Okay. Man, your Facebook is acting retarded. Okay. Long story short, I don't have time to be dilly-dallying around with Facebook. Man, they want to have everything up on your timeline nonsense. But Southern King Rudy, this is for you. What if you could tell me what genre of music? I don't know if you mentioned that in the no, you didn't. No. I hope you okay. We're gonna jump back to hey man. Okay. Let's just say if you're doing hip hop. I'm using that as an example. To be honest with you, the KT2A is not the best option for hip hop vocals. Why? The attack time is a little bit too slow. Excuse me. Burping and stuff like that. But anyway, the attack time is too slow. And it's technically fixed. I mean, it is fixed, not technically. It is fixed. It's slower than the 76. if you're dealing with a genre that requires detail or your ability to tweak the compressor, then you definitely need the 76 because you need you need to be able to adjust the attack time. Now, you had mentioned that it doesn't seem like it is moving. The thing is that the release time is program dependent, which means it gets faster as the envelope of the decaying signal, I'm saying a lot, the envelope of the decaying signal goes down, which means the release time will be quicker. If the envelope remains at a high amplitude, I'm saying a whole lot of technical stuff, it's going to hover and hold the signal a little bit longer until it dies down. You need, if you're doing hip hop, you need something with a lot more tweakability than the KT2A. That's not to say that it is a bad unit. That is to say that it is not fitting the genre you want it to fit in. Does it sound great? Absolutely. Is it useful? Absolutely. What would I use it on? Acoustic instruments primarily, like guitar. I've used it on acoustic bass, upright, and it sounds stellar. You know what I mean? Because of the way it responded and the way the tubes warmed up the signal. You could probably work with it and get the sweet spot, but don't expect to see the needle dancing. That's not going to happen. That's point number one. Attack time. Point number two is that the output. Let's jump to the diagram. I have a diagram for you right here. The output gain is more like a trim knob, you know? So as you're looking at the gain reduction, or maybe the lack thereof that you're seeing on the meter, as you're looking at that gain reduction going down, you adjust the output gain to make up the difference. That's all you're doing. If you're not seeing a lot of gain reduction, that's because, you know, it's a fixed threshold compressor and the signal that you are feeding it is not crossing the threshold. You know what I mean? Again, it's getting back to the fact that you need something that has a lot more adjustability. That would be the 76. You know what I mean? So I would start there. If you have the ability to take it back and get the 76, I say get the 76. That would probably be more to your liking, because if you want to see and hear the compressor in action, that is the compressor for you. Okay? But if you want something that's going to be subtle, the KT2A is your tool. You know what I mean? I hope that helps. Again, if you're not clear, you could always email me. You could go to the About page, and we could have a dialogue, bro. I'm open. So I'm not like one of these that, you know, don't get back to people, you know. But I'm going to help you along. And if you're using it for a certain type of genre, you know, if it's not acoustic music, you might be a little bit like, wow, what's up with this thing? It's not you. It's not the unit. It's that the tool is being used improperly. You know what I mean? You know, I wouldn't use a rock hammer to frame as a framing hammer or as a roofing hammer. You know what I mean? You're using the wrong tool for the wrong circumstance, in other words. You know, so if you want to see it really working, like I need to hear the compressor, like in certain circumstances with certain microphones, you might hear the essence of the instrument, then you would be better off with like a FET compressor like the KT76. You know what I mean? But that particular compressor is going to be a lot more subtle than not. Okay, I hope that helps you, bro. But again, reach out if you have any further questions. You know, but yeah, and you have a good setup. The Apollo and a TLM 103, which is a very clean microphone. I had one once upon a time. I didn't like it, you know, but the TLM is a great microphone. It's transformerless, very, very clean. But if you are a person that likes character, you got to shed that mic as well, because that microphone has no transformers in it. is more suitable for acoustic instruments, or you know, a distant miking situation where you don't want that coloration. You have a whole lot of less than colorful items in your chain. The ISA 1, it only has an input transformer, which is the Lundhall. So that's one thing. You have no output transformer. You know, but if you're a person that likes a lot of character, then I would say reach for some of the warm audio stuff, the WA73, you know, which has transformers on the ins and the outs, as well as the WA87 or 47. If you like that fat, thick creaminess that those Carnhills will give you. You know, I hope that helps you. But again, reach out, bro, if you have any further questions. Let's get back to some other stuff. Lucas Jr. Optical versus FET versus VCA. Yes, that yeah, the Avalon 737 he's talking about was one of the staples for hip hop, early hip hop. Everybody had the same chain, which was the Avalon 737 and the U87, which was a perfect match. You know, it's kind of like the Neve 1073 as well as a Neumann. You know what I mean? Great. And the Gurner just added to the conversation that the TLM 103 can work great. Yeah, it does on certain female vocals, because I tried it on two vocalists that are session singers here in New York. Ayana George, who has a very, very pretty voice. You could look her up. A well-respected session singer here, and it works with her voice perfectly. And at the opposite end of that, Latasha Jordan, I tried it on her, who's a very gutsy singer, you know, has a very rich tone to her voice. I didn't like it so much. You know, I mean, it works, but it wasn't my favorite for her voice. You know what I mean? So it depends on the vocalist and the timbre of their voice. Chains Interlinked says, hello, Warren. Hello, Chains Interlinked. Give me a little background. They seem to be new to the live stream. I am going to jump forward to another question that I was given about a Mackie big knob and gain staging, which is important. Just tell me what's up, and let's go back to the... Oh, so he did. So Southern King would just say he's doing rap. Yep. Yeah, man. You need that 76. You're looking for something with some color. You know what I mean? Some color. If you want to get that sound, man, you better go back to listen to that early Jay-Z stuff, because some of this new stuff, man, I don't know, it's a little light. I ain't gonna lie to you. Maybe I'm just prejudiced, you know, because I like, you know, early 2000s and late 90s hip-hop. Maybe that's just my thing, but my ear is tuned to that sound because of the way it was recorded. You know, a lot of this stuff was recorded on Neve consoles, on a console, on a particular type of signal chain that's going to give you that. Now, a lot of people rely on, and not to a detriment, but they rely on these plugins from UA to give them that sound. It's not going to happen. I mean, UA comes close, but there's nothing like the real thing. And there's plenty of tests out there on YouTube for you to corroborate what I'm saying. You know what I mean? If you want that early Jay-Z sound, yeah, you need like a 47. You need a 76. You need Avalon or Neve preamps, something that's going to give you that width, that fatness. You know what I mean? So that this way, when it comes mix time, it's sitting perfectly. You ain't got to worry about it. You know what I mean? And that's what the struggle is, you know? You know, when it comes to mix, it's like, oh, snap, I'm listening to some other artists, and it's just not matching up. Why? It gets back to the signal chain, you know, how it was recorded. So let's see. Thanks for your videos. Change it to helping out with routing. My first studio setup in the... Oh, cool, man. That's cool. Thank you for saying that. Brother's trying to just shed whatever information he has garnered these many 50 plus years of his life. So if it helped you, my job is done. No, it's not done. Like I'm checking out or something, hopefully. Okay, here we go. Texture. Okay, let's see. Weather Music says he just ordered the W887R2. Can't wait to hear thoughts on the W887R2. Okay, here's a little bit of a truth about me. I have a WA87. I like it, but if you want to know historically with me, that's not my favorite mic. I have friends of mine that love that mic. I hate that microphone. Not the WA87. I think it is great. I own one because I'm a mic junkie. It made sense to own one, just based on the quality of the product. I'm not going to be without one. That would be foolish. But because of, the quality of the product, excuse me. But if I had to pick between a Neumann U87 or a U67 or 47, I'm 67, U89, U67, U47 first. Why? Because of the music I do. It's just, those are my choices, that I happen to like. Why? Because I was turned out by a 47 when I was 20. Wow, how old was I? Dang. 23 years old? I was at Battery Sound doing a session with Angela Frederick, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then the guy put the mic up, and she sang into it, and everybody's eyes in the room just was like, oh, snap, like, whoa, what mic is that? It was like that, Neumann U47. And from that point forward, I was like, that's my mic. You know what I mean? But that's not to say that the WA87, and I think they did a better job, knowing Bryce and the crew, as I do, they probably did a better job of perfecting what was already perfect for the project studio owner. So the fact that you get your hands on one, hey man, kudos to you, B. I ain't mad at you, because that is a very good acquisition. So let me know how it works out for you. Honestly, I want to know, because I'm not a review channel. I'm more of an end user. I keep saying that to people. Everyone, oh, you're a reviewer. I'm not a reviewer. The reason why I've been dark is because the brother's been working. This COVID thing got my pockets light. Now I'm lucky to be, I got a gig next weekend, nice size, I gotta work. I ain't sitting up here trying to play being a YouTuber. No, I got work to do. But when I'm reaching for something, I'm reaching for it with the thought in mind that this is a tool, man. It's going to facilitate me getting the job done for a client. And if it's not a good tool, as Golden Age is, okay, I've had it crap out on me on a client gig, and I said never again, period. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to dealing with tools. But in terms of warm audio, they are trying to perfect, constantly get better at what they're doing. 1, 2, they're an American company. You got a problem, they're right here. And look at this COVID crap. If you're a commercial studio operation and you got a Neve board right now, and for some odd reason, it bugs out and you fry the caps in this thing, how are you going to get a replacement? You just screwed yourself. Now, that's not saying Neve is bad. You got to call Westlake. And I've done this before. You got to call Westlake. Can you get me a spare board? You got to call Pro Audio LA or all these pro audio shops to try and get a replacement, because your downtime turns to money. You ain't turning clients because you don't have a board. So you got to think like that. These are tools. Period. Nothing more, nothing less. So those who want to, always, warm audio is Chinese crap. Okay, if you say so, you're entitled to your opinion. But do you think the client really cares? The client knows what sounds good. And if it sounds good coming out of a Radio Shack mic, I'm dating myself saying Radio Shack, for those of you of a certain age who know what Radio Shack is. If it sounds good coming out of Radio Shack mic, who cares? Who cares? If it sounds good coming out of an Art Pro VLA compressor or whatever, who cares? You're doing a job. They're paying you to do a job. Period. They ain't paying you for the equipment, because the equipment in the wrong hands of a person is like putting a Ferrari in the hands of a newly minted driver. You got your driver's license yesterday. You going, you buying a Ferrari. You don't know how to drive. You just learning how to drive. You just got your license and you got a Ferrari. Doesn't make sense. So keeping things in mind, you know what I mean? These are just tools. So let's go for, oh, Trusty Studio is in the hizzy. Okay. Ham Garcia. I appreciate videos and more audio stuff, but I haven't pulled the trigger on any hardware mixing devices. I mostly spend my money on instruments and synths. Hey, listen, here's my prediction with that. There's going to be a revival of hardware synths coming back. So hold on. If you got rolling gear, I ain't getting rid of none of my rolling gear. You got some old core gear, you'll see it. Somebody's going to come along, get nominated for a Grammy. They're going to say, hey, what did you use? And they're going to be like, oh, I used a Roland M1. I mean, a Korg M1. They're going to be like, what? The next thing you know, you go on eBay, all the Korg M1s are going for $1,000 or more. So if that's your thing, man, cool, kudos. Because I'm telling you, running this analog, those synths through current analog gear gives you a different sound and a character that you're not getting doing everything in the box. So kudos, bro. Let's see. Lucas Jr. version B. Let me go back. Oh, is this LA 610? Yeah, the 610. That's a good option. Yes. Trusty Studio said the 610 works good with the TLM 49. Yeah, I like that. I do like that combo as well. Okay, Lucas. Let me go forward. Ham Garcia says, I am looking at the WA73 EQ. I am currently record through a Scarlett 2i2. Okay. And my genre is pop EDM. Okay. Cool. I mean, you got a good bass line. I have the 2i4. You know, it's what I'm talking to you through right now. And recently picked up a Sapphire Pro for my I'm gonna be doing more remote and why the Sapphire Pro? It sounds fine. It was only $200. If I want some fatness, I got enough preamps. I mean, you see, people get caught up in buying the latest and greatest. As much as I would like to go out and buy the latest and greatest, sometimes your budget has to dictate how smart you're going to be with your purchase and what's the end purpose for which you're using it. And for this particular circumstance with the Sapphire, I'm just using it for recording live gigs. You know, if I have to record live chamber ensembles or singer-songwriter stuff, those preamps sound great. You know, and if I want some fatness or character, I have enough preamps. I can use my lunchbox. You know, like I said, in the end, it's just tools, man. Lucas Jr. raises a very good point, and I just want to, you know, did I address the K228? Yes, I did. And there was one other issue that I wanted to talk about. Oh, with the gain staging and the Mackie Big Knob. I don't know if that person is here, but I will. Let me get to that first, and then we'll talk about Lucas Jr.'s point about acoustic treatment, because that's the reason why I kind of did some of the work that I've done as of late. But someone reached out to me and asked a question with regards to why. Okay, let's go to the actual question. Let me go here. Here we are. He says when I plug into the 2-track A, it works, but it shows everything on his TC Electronic Clarity M is peaking anywhere from -2 loudness units full scale to -4, which is incredibly loud, but I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here. If anyone could help, it would be great. I asked him what was he plugging into, and he replied, it's plugged into the 2-track A output. It's the older Big Knob, which I'm familiar with because I own one. I obviously can't share pictures. And monitor out the RCA. Okay, wait a minute. Hang on a second. It's the output section right next. I got it. And the RCA connections are going to the Analog to digital converter, and it's going through light pipe optical. Okay, here's the deal. If you hooked up, first of all, when you're using a monitor controller, all right. If you're using a monitor controller in your mix chain at all, okay, let's just be clear on one thing. You guys have got to calibrate the front to the back end. Why do I always beat this drum? Why? Why do you keep saying that all the time? I say it because in the days of tape, which in some respects still apply even though we are dealing with digital, you youngsters have got to understand that every input and output has a level. I don't care what you think, it's a fact. Some things output at a higher level than others. Now, with regards to your issue that you're having with everything peaking at -2, -4, I have a little diagram here for you. Look within the circles. You see a +4 and a -10. You see those triangles? This is why you youngsters need to learn how to read block diagrams, which I had to do for every console that I have ever owned and ever worked on. So you know at what point am I clipping, or at what point is the signal becoming deficient? Because in the days of tape, your 0 would have to be 0 from the oscillator all the way to and through the mixing board, to and through to your 2-track machine, whether it was cassette, whether it was DAT, or whether it was a 1/4-inch 2-track. Regardless, 0 was always 0 was always 0. The 0 that is output from your oscillator is coming in at a reference level of +4. That must translate. Listen carefully. That must is the operative word. That must translate to -18 decibels full scale in Pro Tools. Period. Has to. So the fact that you have 2 amplifiers on the output stage, after those 2 triangles, which represent amplifiers, you have a switch. You see those 2 things? You see the +4 and the -10, and then you see 2 little things going left and right. Look to the right of it. That is a switch. That is giving you a choice between the 2, okay? Now, most of this equipment that has been released as of late operates at a reference level of +4. Good for you kids, because that means now project studios are now operating at the same level as professional studios, which means technically everything that you do on your end, when you go to the Hit Factory, when you go to any other pro studio, it should translate well. You should not have this deficient, like, oh snap, why am I hearing hiss? If you gain staged, you wouldn't have that problem. But you have to get yourself, for the individual that Skimmy is his name, you have to get yourself a test tone oscillator. Why? The +4 reference level that oscillator is outputting, you are going to feed that into the chain as though it was a signal coming from a microphone, let's just say. You're going to gain stage your preamp to 0. Let's just say you have a warm audio or some other preamp that has meters on it that can let you look at 0. You reference that +4 to 0 on your preamp. The output, as it is going into your interface, has to reference, you need Pro Tools up on the screen to see this, has to reference -18 decibels full scale on the Pro Tools meters, or else it is not properly gain staged. Okay? So if that's not happening, then you're going to set yourself up for problems in the future. Now, let's jump. Okay, we got the output connected. Pro Tools -18. When you're looking at the meters on your clarity, what do you think that's supposed to be referencing? -18. If not, you have a problem somewhere. Somewhere something is amplifying that signal as it is on its way to the clarity. That's what you must eliminate. So here's what's the best case scenario. You're hooking into 2-track A, which has an amplification stage. Unless that amplification stage was variable, and in this case it's not, it is switch operated between -10 and +4, you might have more gain being fed to it from that unit than not. So what would I suggest? I would suggest that you take the signal from an unamplified source. You don't have that? Okay, no problem. Let's find out how we can do that. If you have a spare, let's just say for instance, headphone amp just laying around, you could always feed that 2-track feed out of that so that you have some measure of controlling -18 on your clarity. The issue that you're having with clipping is coming from the fact that you have an amplification stage right at the output that you have no control over. You only have two options, +4, -10. That's not giving you the latitude you need so that when you're looking at -18 on the clarity, when you're looking at -18 on Pro Tools, you know that it is matching +4, or rather 0 dB from the +4 tone that you're feeding it from here. Everything has to match. I know I've said a lot, and I don't want to come off as confusing you more. I've done an entire series on gain staging, preamps, and everything. Why? Because it's so important, man. People want to know, like, why my tracks sounding thin? Your tracks are sounding thin because you don't have the gain structure's all jacked up. You know what I mean? So you got to understand, and if you don't get it, just give me a call. Shoot me an email and I'll walk you through it. You understand? Because this little $29 unit, I don't think any studio should be without one. And the fact that you can educate yourself as to properly gain staging outside of the box is going to help your tracks translate better amplitude-wise, regardless of where you're or what you're doing. I've said a lot, and I have to move on. But if you have any questions, definitely hit me up on the About page. But I want you all to know that it is, for $29, you can solve all the issues you're having. All the issues. You know where 0 is on the preamp. You know where -18 is going into your you have a clear idea as how the knobs should be set. So you will know that, listen, what's coming in is exactly what's going out. That's what it gets down to in the final analysis. But if you don't know what your gain structure is, and you apparently in the big knob have a gain structure that you have no control over, you only have two options, +4, -10. You need something that's variable, maybe like, let me show you this little cheapy thing, like something like this little Samson headphone amp that's going to give you a variable pot so that you can change the amount of gain going so that your meters read. If you know you got it cranked all the way over here and it's at -2, okay, well, I need to back it off so that, okay, right here, all the way to and through, okay, I know that I have the right volume going to my meters, because that is what's going to give you the true readout and an excellent translation in terms of your signal to noise ratio. I've said a lot, but I've also have done several videos on why that's important. So definitely get yourself that Behringer CT100. That's a test tone oscillator, 1. And 2, if you have to, then just get this little Behringer cheapy headphone amp, and just it's not the best situation because you're adding yet another gain stage in the chain on its way to your meter, but it beats a blank. You know, like for me, I'm using my old Apogee converter, because what's coming into that is a unadulterated signal, and what's going out of it is coming out light pipe unadulterated, and everything that I've gain stage. So I know that I've adjusted everything perfectly to meet -18. So regardless of where I'm looking at the signal, whether I'm looking in Pro Tools, whether I'm looking on my meter, I know that I'm in the can trust that I'm in the sweet spot because I've gain staged my entire chain properly. You understand? So I hope that helps. If not, then reach out to a brother. Like I said, I don't mind helping you out. Lola JC, I was once in your shoes. I said on all four two. Okay, I'll use little word. Okay, it's fun to say once. Okay. I love some of their comments. I get mad. Marson says turn the mic up. I thought I was shouting, man. Okay, how's that, everybody? Let me know. I'm okay. Let me turn this monitor down a bit. Okay, how's that? Hopefully louder, because the brother be shouting, be like, why are you so upset? Yeah, you need to get down to calibrate. You got to calibrate. And I remember years ago, I used to do sessions at outside studios. You get the cassette at the end of the night, and the cassette would sound like the record. It's like, oh snap, this is like, but why? You know, because the whole chain was calibrated. The whole chain from 0 all the way to and through to the 2-track. All 2 tracks connected to the console, whether it was cassette, DAT, or 1/4-inch or 1/2-inch 2-track, they were all calibrated to 0 dB at +4. So hope that helps you. Hope that helps. So I addressed the whole big knob issue, and you see all these. I think at every stage it seems like of the big knob it has amplification. You know what I mean? All these triangles represent amplifiers. You know, which means you see these jacks at the end where it says L and R 2-track outputs. Those are the 1/4-inch jacks. If they were XLR, it would be a circle with 3 dots in it. But these are apparently balanced in output jacks, which have a tip ring and sleeve. You know, so the only choices you have for amplification for in terms of attenuating or boosting the amplifier are +4 and -10. You know, so I know it sucks, because it's like, dag, man, you know, I got to go out and buy something else. But if you want it done right, there ain't but one way to do it right. And you just have to troubleshoot it to the point where it's like, you got to do what you got to do. That's why most people will have a console of some sort, you know, off to the left or the right of them while they're working, so that they could, I forgot who it was. I was talking to recently. I was asking him, why did he use a Dave, what you call him? Anyway, like, why do you have a console? He's like, oh, I use it just for monitoring. You know what I mean? Because the console, from that perspective, is indispensable. You know what I mean? I mean, you're getting the best of both worlds. You could connect multiple monitors up to it, as well as your metering. You know, that's where the console is really rock solid, man. So let's jump forward. Let's jump all the way forward to the last video, which you all thought was better. And I got so many responses from that video. It was crazy, man. And it went over well. I just wanted to make an end all be all, because you know, I was kind of, prior to doing the video, I was working outside my place, and also in my studio doing some client work. And I had noticed that I kept noticing, well, first it dawned on me outside, the detail in the mids on a 1073, and I was like, wow. You know, like, wow. I know that it always gave you the girth that you're looking for, but the mids were like, I was hearing like the transient detail of the reverbs, which I was like, okay, I mean, that this is crazy. So I said, when I get home, let me just do some experiments. So again, what did I do? I made sure to level the playing field. I zero reference the WA73 as well as the 1073, excuse me. And I just ran some synth patches through it just to and again, it happened. I started noticing the detail in the mids on certain instruments. Operative word is certain. I was saying to myself, like, okay, this is crazy. I mean, I know that the 1073, the legacy and the history of it, but is it that much better than the WA73? In the short thought, if you will, I will say no. Why am I saying no? The build quality on a 1073 is different, and I think it's different for this one reason. The capacitors that are being used. What you guys got to understand is capacitors are nothing more than they're batteries that are holding a charge. Now, I'm gonna get all technical and bibble babbly, if you will, for a minute. But it is said that if you underpower, and I'm jumping off the topic just for a moment, if you underpower a woofer, that you run the danger of it'll pass the signal, but it won't have enough power to deliver the purity of the signal on the whole. If you underpower a passive speaker, it will give you the signal, but it won't have the necessary power to pass the entire purity of the signal. That's what I am attributing this phenomena, if you will, of having so much detail in the mid-range on the 1073. They use, I'm going to say, maybe the capacitor is used. I did not take it apart. I did not desolder. You would have to. Okay, let's just be clear on that. You would have to desolder the capacitor from the board, take it to a bench, test it for fact. I'm speaking based on just knowing what components do, okay? There's no way to prove that other than to go to the labs at Neve in Burnley or go to Warm Audio's manufacturing facility and see what components were sourced, and again, bench test them for that fact. But I have to say that the Warm Audio WA73 held its own for the most part. What does that mean? That Warm has a good product that once things start to burn in, it's going to take a character on all its own. If you own one, don't let it go. Hold on to it. Let it age, because as it ages, it's going to give you a character that you're going to wind up falling in love with, or you will hate one or the other. But I'm telling you, it's hard to hate it because they really, really, really paid attention to detail and spec this thing. And that's a fact because I put it up against the real deal. They spec'd it as close as one could come to the actual 1073. Kudos to Warm Audio. I was, like I said, I have to say I'm really, really surprised. Again, it didn't shine as brightly as I thought it would on all instruments, especially if the instrument had a lot of detail in terms of the mids and the transient detail of the curve on certain mid-rangey instruments. It didn't have the attack. The slew rate maybe on certain components was a little bit slower in terms of the attack on certain types of percussive like instruments, but by and large, they got it They got it. It's hooked up. So if you own one of these things, man, don't let it go. Don't let it go. As a matter of fact, for next to nothing, you could stock up on 8 channels of this stuff. But 8 channels of WA73 is only costing you approximately $3,000 if you buy used. You know what I mean? But you have to be in love with a Neve console, which I am. You have to be a total Neve fan. You know what I mean? And to love, because it has a character that you have to, fall in love with, And I did a long time ago, so I'm very familiar with the 80 series Neve the old joints, with the meter bridges. That's before they were the plasma ones, like the VR series. I'm talking about the old VU meter 80 series Neve boards, and I love the character and the sound of them. But if you're not a big fan of Neve products, then you may not like a 73 as much as you may like the Warm Audio Tone Beast, which is modeled after an API. More of an American sound as opposed to that British pop-like sound, the fatness that the Neves give you. You know what I mean? So, was I surprised by and large at the outcome? Yeah, and I thought it would be, I wanted to experiment with as many instruments that would represent especially all of the rhythm section and some. So I don't think that there's a video on YouTube right now that has more actual examples for you to reference, and then you are referencing the unit against the creme de la creme. So tell me, guys, what are your thoughts? Let's jump. Yo, Warren made manual music. What's up, brother? How are you? How are you? Are you talking? Mr. Pirate Brain is in the house. Oh, man. It's been a long time. Yes, it has been, brother. Have I been eating? Well, brother's been eating. Brother got to maintain his weight, man. I'm over 50. I ain't got no time to be trying to be pumped up with medication to take care of high blood pressure and all this other stuff. So what I do, I've taken on a regimen of cycling. I'm an avid cyclist. I'm not one of these. I cycle 50 plus miles a week. That's one of my, stay in shape things. And this year, because of COVID, weight training. So Milk has been doing a brother body's good. All right. So weight training, and that has been my regimen. Yes, I eat, but I can't eat all that sweet stuff because a brother will go through a sleeve of Oreos. And I used to be obese once upon a time, and that's not a good thing, man. So, I mean, to each his own, but hey, man, gotta take care, man. Gotta take care. So I'm doing good, though. I'm doing well. And yes, I do eat. I love to eat. Because the brother can eat some cheesecake. I ain't playing. You wind up killing yourself. Kill over. You're over 50. You gotta take care of a few things a little bit better. Things don't work like they used to. Oh, man. Yeah, it's all good, man. I'm glad to see everybody. Let's get back to some questions. Rodrigo de Macedo. Good afternoon, my brother. I'm glad to see you. Gerner just said he ordered a CT100 and wanted one for. Yeah, man, that thing is $30. $30, man. I ain't got no time to be. Like I said, man, I'd rather have that on standby than not, because it's going to get you out of a pinch. And plus, it's a multifunction unit in that you could check the quality of cables for shorts and things of that nature. So, and Mr. Pirate Brain wants to know if I'm talking about the Warm Audio Mix Bus. No, I'm not. We were talking about earlier about the WA73 versus 1073 comparison that I did recently. Okay, let's go forward. John 415 says he has. Oh yeah, John, you got a point about the Chameleon Labs, the 7603. Hey, speaking of which, I'm glad you raised that. I don't know. I reached out to that guy several times because he is like America's version of Rupert Neve. This guy winds his own inductors and everything. I haven't checked it out, but I am. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, man. Because he's not some little fly by night guy. The guy Chameleon Labs. I forget, Italian brother. And I saw him at the last AES, as a matter of fact, as well. Yeah, man. So he's America's first. But I reached out to him trying to get a hold of some review copies. They I guess they're a small operation. He just hasn't reached back. But that 7603, I've been hearing some really cool things about it. And you said to my ears, I like the EQ section on the Chameleon. Really hard. Yeah, because he's if you guys don't know what inductors are, they're similar to transformers, but I think the way they're wound, it makes them more frequency specific. From what I know about inductors on a surface level, I'm not some great mechanical engineer to give you all the detail on it, but I do know that the only other person that I think Carnhill inductors were used in most of the Neve EQs back in the day, but this guy winds his own inductors, and that's why I was interested in hearing his EQs. I was like, oh God, I gotta check this guy out. But like I said, I reached out to them, but they never reached back. B Smith says, I have been noticing the Chameleon line lately. Yeah, they're pretty good company. And like I said, I'm itching to get my hand on those the 7603. They have the 500 series EQs. So yeah. Mr. Pryor Brain said I got to lose weight. Hey, listen, man, you do what do you, B. I had to do me, cause my family, that high blood pressure and stuff be running. Like I said, I ain't got no time to be. My mother had a dresser full of pills to treat stuff. God rest her soul. I ain't got time to be doing that, man. Now, this COVID thing and all this other crap. They only want to pump you up with stuff. Nah, that's all right. Thank you. Just tell me what I need to do. B. Smith says, what's up, Warren? Agree. We must make time. Okay, I don't want to make this about health, but those of us of a certain age know what we got to do. Yeah, man. But back to the chains at least I used to be. Yeah, B. Shoot, man. Early 2000s? What? I was like 230. And this is the last time I'm going to say anything about. I was like about 225, 230 was my heaviest. And I did not carry that weight well. That's not good, man. You feel it. But you acting like, I was acting like I was invincible. I was younger then at the same time. But that crap catch up to you, B. When you get past 40, stuff start catching up on you, man. You want to get back. And I was always a person that was never out of shape. You know what I mean? And even to this day, I'm in better shape than most people my age. You know what I mean? I ride, several times a week. Now that I've gotten strength training into it, I've always been involved in sports. It's just that I let myself go at one point in time in life, and it was not good because it had repercussions, which, resulted in me having to shed that weight. So for all you youngsters out there that want to be eating McDonald's and all that other crap, stop eating processed food, okay? Because it ain't good for you. Take it from Exhibit A, all right? We're going to get off that. Holy. Y'all are crazy, man. I'm going to show this one for the record. Show. Y'all are crazy, man. Yeah, but man, listen, you got to do what you got to do, B. You can't be out there just eating stuff like crazy. And the youngsters, they be doing that. And when he's being studio, like all hours in the night eating Chinese food. 2 o'clock in the morning. Yo, who's ordering now, B? Who got this? It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. You stuffing your face. That is not good for you. Your body can't metabolize that stuff. But we're going to get off that. Here we go. Let's go. Let's get off the diet. We'll talk as a group of 50 pluses or 40 pluses about this on another time. But yeah. Mr. Mr. Smooth says he loves the warm audio bus comp. Good. That's excellent. That is good news, man. Because the SSL bus compressor is a very, and that is modeled after the SSL. Warm did a very, very good job. But the criticisms that I have been receiving, as of late, with regards to the bus comp have been that it's a little too aggressive. And in some respects, I have to agree with that. I think I would have appreciated, as opposed to an auto release time, a little bit more of the ability to vary the degree of release time, because to me that's where the character of a compressor shines. Excuse me, if you will. I can't overemphasize how important that is until you compare it to like a mu compressor, like the Fairchild, where you can hear the release time, not just adding the character, but holding the signal in a place that's just so sweet sounding. Mick Gazowski did a very good comparison between all four of the Manley compressors. When you get a chance to look that up, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Sometimes that if you're doing music, if you're doing pop music, like an older group that I love a lot, Duran Duran, where you need that punch and that power, and at the same time, or like a group like Paramore, where they do that power rock, but you want still the character of the music to cut through, that's your compressor. But if you want sweetness, like something ballady, or if you want just that pocket sort of feeling that R&B can give you, then you need more of a mu-like compressor. It gets down to knowing what tools work with what genre that is, because everything is not for everything, And guess what? Companies like Warm Audio have come along and have made it affordable. So you could afford to have this tool, that tool for next to nothing, So kudos to Warm. Mr. Pirate Brain. Okay, we're going to leave the age thing alone for a little while. Because you and me both know we both are familiar with 1980. Okay? But yeah, man, I empathize with that whole 50s plus thing, though. But the bus comp is a good thing. John said, yeah, and you see, that's another thing. Warm Audio is not just putting out products, and people go, "Oh, you're a Warm Audio fanboy." It's not that. It's just that one thing I pay attention to whenever I'm buying a piece of equipment, regardless, and I've owned it all. Okay. If you ever picked up I had an Avalon 747. My God, that thing weighed a metric ton. When something is that heavy, it's well made. One. The components are quality components, too. You know what I mean? So you've got to look at it from that perspective. If it's got some weight to it, crack it open. Like in the Manley equipment, those transformers are enormous. It gets down to what I was saying about capacitors. If you have a capacitor, it's a battery. Its ability to hold a charge so that you have power on demand. That's why that 1073 sounds the way it does. You have power on demand. I mean, you don't need to crank the gain all the way up to high heaven to get a decent signal. So that lowers the noise floor and gives you a whole lot of power, which is going to raise your signal to noise ratio. It helps you. You know what I mean? So from that perspective, then, it makes it a great unit. The Gurner says, I decided to use a plugin. SSL. I have to tell you all something that I've noticed also. I don't think, and this is for companies out there, everybody that's manufacturing equipment right now need to, like Apogee as well as Army, and I'm sure all of them do. They go out and they buy the competitors' products so that they can pull it apart in the lab. But UA ain't playing, man. Universal Audio, I think, is going to be cutting so deep into the Avid market that they're going to have to really, really, really start showing some level of concern, because Avid is the bellwether. You know, we're not going to take that away from them being a standard in terms of the industry. But UA has got their foot to the floor in terms of, you know, trying to produce the best product. And they're definitely the company. If you are in the market, okay, for a new interface, I say let your first choice for the security of your ability to work with multiple producers or clients outside of your studio, buy a universal audio interface, because they are making a play for being one of the largest names in audio. Trust me on that. Let's have this discussion in about 4 years, and you will see. You will see. Because Digi is playing, Digi, I keep calling them Digi. Somebody said, it's not Digi anymore, it's Avid. Avid is playing themselves. Oh, and I didn't tell you, I had to upgrade to Pro Tools 12. It was like passing a stone. If anyone, see, I go with the health references again. I was like having a cow. Honestly, I did not want to give these people that, and I had to because I'm on a client project contract right now. That's the only reason I purchased it. It's because the contract that I got is large enough for me to buy it. Other than that, I wasn't given. So now I'm on Pro Tools 12 on a mobile rig. In my studio, I'm still on Pro Tools 8. I'm not, because I just can't see a reason for changing. It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, man. It's a thing. Change the lead, young man here, take a note. Yes. Okay, so any further questions? Mr. Does the mix bus work in individual? If you're talking about that's the warm audio. No, you can't break it apart. You would have to use one side of it independent of the other. And I don't know that that's the best case scenario. Well, you're doing dance music, so I don't know. I gotta be honest with you. It wouldn't be the first thing I would do. I would rely. If I were in your position, like if I was on a client project and it was a dance track that I'm working on from the ground up, I would get the instruments going into Pro Tools correct, and I would use the plugins to, control the dynamics. You know what I mean? Because you don't necessarily have to punch it and hit it as hard going into the box. You don't have to hit it hard. If you do hit it hard, then make sure that when you're hitting it hard, you have compressor on it so that you're not clipping the signal on the way in. But you could add the balance of the compression on the channel as it's being recorded. You know what I mean? And it's non-committed because it's a plugin. You know what I mean? You could turn the plugin off. You're just trying to find that sweet spot. So to answer your question, yeah, you could use it, but I wouldn't use it in that fashion. That wouldn't be the first way I would use it, John 415 asks the question, did I have to get... Yes, I had to get into the stupid subscription thing with them, man. With Avid, man. I'm telling you, if I was not on a contract right now, I would not have done it. And y'all know, because I'm always saying the same thing. I'm on Pro Tools 8.1 HD. Why? Because I paid a fortune for that system. The industry standard has not dictated me to upgrade just for features. That's nonsense. Clients are not paying me for features. They're paying me to record sound. Period. And if this were not an event, because this is going to be a mix to picture project, a live concert video for a client, I wanted it done correctly. So that, on my mobile system, here's the story. I had Pro Tools 10, right? I was running on my laptop Mavericks, and I'm finding out I upgraded to Sierra because that was as high as I could go on the laptop. And then I found out that Pro Tools 10 that I own is no longer usable on Sierra. like I said, I had a coronary because now I done committed to this project, and I'm like, I told the client, yeah, it's no problem. This can be done. And then all of a sudden, my laptop's not working because I got Sierra on it as an operating system, but my Pro Tools 10 dongle is not even being read. And I'm like, I don't believe that I'm about to spend more money with these people. Honestly, if I could have gotten it done in Logic Pro X, I would have done it. But see, there's always that chance when you're doing client work that they may ask for, hey, and I had this happen to me. Hey, by the way, can you send the post house the actual Pro Tools session? What do you say to that? If you're on Logic Pro X, you can't be making no excuses. You don't got them people money. You better make sure you. So I had to. I had no other alternative. And like I said, if it wasn't for anything else, I definitely would not have upgraded. You know, it's not to say that Avid stuff is bad. It's just that I've given them so much blasted money. I mean, I've made the money back, but for God's sake, I'm looking at people, friends of mine that purchased that the C24, the big beautiful control surface. And then I knock on it, it's made out of plastic. The resale value is no good. You could pick them up when these people I know paid $11,000 for the unit. They turn around, they go to sell it, they can't even get $2,000 for it. So think about how much money you're losing on your investment if you're a commercial business. You gotta think with your dollar. So I am hoping and praying that UA puts a big enough dent in the market that causes people to look left as a viable alternative to, Pro Tools. That's not saying that Pro Tools is bad. It's just, my God, if for anybody you have to be making that amount of money to justify being in a subscription program. So, I mean, these are, I'm happy. You have to reinvent yourself during COVID, and then you got to pay these people more money on top of it just to remain relevant some kind of way. So you got to be careful. You be in a lose situation. Your pockets be like drained because you keep giving your money to everybody. Nobody got time for that. No, I ain't got no money for it. I ain't gonna be lying to you. I gave these people a lot of money. When I bought that HD system, I was on several projects. It paid for itself. And to convince my wife, who is my business partner, like this is a viable, it will allow us to pick up additional business. To convince her, it required proof. What are you going to charge? I had to go up on rates. So. Hey, man. Hey, Gerda says, that's why he stays on Logic and never does outside productions. But I'm just saying, what if someone calls you to do something? And they wave a check in front of your face. You ain't going to just forfeit that money. They say, I like what you do. I think you could give me the sound that I'm looking for. But I need it done in this way. Do you turn down the gig? You know what I mean? I mean, if you independently wealthy, fine. But a brother ain't independently wealthy. COVID has hurt me financially. So now I'm back at work. That's what you got to do, But let's jump back to some questions because I have to wrap it up. Let's go to Rodrigo de Macedo. Is the Art Pro VLA good enough, or should you just save a bit more and get the Warm Audio WA76? I think Shure mono versus stereo, different. But what about build quality and durability? Okay. I think there are two different types of compressors. You have got to understand. One is a FET, the other is VCA. One has 2 channels, one is single channel. I would say what you should do, buy it. If it's not meeting your satisfaction, make sure you buy it from someone like Sweetwater. Send it back. Period. Because you have to be happy. If you're not happy, then give me my money back. Period. That's all you can do. Other than that, it's like you're kind of like grasping. And if you want to know what a good compressor is to start out and your limited funds, go on eBay and buy yourself a DBX 163 X or a 166A. Buy those. You're not going to spend a lot of money, and you're getting a quality piece of gear. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to buy the current latest and greatest. That's why I don't understand why people keep leaving these ISA ones, these Focusrite ISA ones on eBay for $300. You know, I mean, come on. Those things are like $600 in the store, and people, I guess, because it's not a Neve-ish. But that thing is built on a legacy of Rupert Neve's ISA console, which I think there are only 2 remaining in the world. All the rest have been parceled out. If I remember correctly, anybody from New York can check me, but I remember only Right Track Recording being the only studio in New York that had one. So stop leaving them on eBay. Them ISAs preamps are very, very good preamps, man. So to answer your question, is the Pro VL, you know, only your ears can tell you. You know, I don't know what music you're doing. It's different tools for different things. But if you know when you know it when you hear it. If it's not giving you exactly the sound you want, send it back. It's that simple. Send it back. Oh, Ninja6485 says he has both. Mr. Pirate Brain said Pro Tools are pimps. B. Smith, that's why I have not purchased a Pro Tools HG system since getting back in. No. Don't. Listen, I know I'm going to get some hate mail. It doesn't make sense to buy an HD system anymore. The computers are fast enough. Point 1. The selling point of an HD system was the fact that you had power on demand. But guess who else is giving you power on demand? Universal Audio. So those days are gone. The so-called, oh, you need the horsepower to run power. Universal Audio has solved that problem. They are going to be a major competitor of Avid in a few short years. Major competitor. They're not playing. They are underground with their white coats, figuring out how can we cut ourselves a bigger piece of this pie out of Avid's market. I mean, look, they already gotten into the thing with Luna. What do you think? Luna's just like some pet project? No, it's not. They're underground trying to perfect it. How can we get better? Just like Logic did with Pro Tools. One of the biggest problems I have, and I have Logic on the G5. One of the biggest problems I had when trying to use Logic in a professional environment was the fact that in Pro Tools, you know, I could jump between 2 screens. In Logic, it was always multiple screens. I could not, you know, command rather, plus and equal to jump between screens like I could in Pro Tools. So that's why I worked primarily in Pro Tools. But now, look at the interface on Logic now. It rivals Pro Tools. And if it could become more of a standard DAW for you to operate in, I would utilize that more. Because these companies are leveling the playing field. Yes, Pro Tools is pimping people. Yes, it's a sin and a disgrace that you can't just buy the software outright. I mean, and then when you want to buy it outright, it costs an insane amount of money. And then you don't get good resale value on the hardware. You're picking up HD systems for what? Old HDXL systems for what now? For like a couple of $100. So that means all the tens of thousands of dollars that I spent is worth hundreds now? You think I'm interested in throwing money away like that? Like I said, I made the money back, but for God's sake, can you at least, you know, make it worth my while? No, it's not worth it. So George Thompson says, one dude asked me to use Pro Tools on a mix just because it's professional. If he's paying you, you got to obey the client. But if he's just saying it's professional, no, that's what you're told. Because you can make records on anything if you got skill. It gets down to the song. So, you know, the tool does not make the record. And that's where a lot of these youngsters get it twisted. Or I need this, and this. No, you don't. You need musicianship chops. You need to understand how to put songs together. You need to understand what makes certain things work. Musically, why certain songs resonate in a particular way musically. It ain't got nothing to do with the tools. You can make a song on anything. So let's not get it twisted, youngsters. You know. So Ray Manual Music. So I scored a free art. Any tube upgrades? Okay, let's just be clear. Whenever you are, and this is for anyone that wants to do any tube swapping in any type of tube equipment, be very careful, because not all cathode tubes are created equally, and then it may wind up jacking up the gain staging of the gain structure of the unit itself. So I would not advocate swapping out tubes arbitrarily. I would contact the manufacturer to see what they suggest with regards to changing tubes. And even Manley, they're like, and Manley and Summit Audio, they're like, can you send the thing back to us? We will change the tubes for you, because there's a recalibration that they have to do. That's something I don't dilly-dally around with, you know. And even when I had my Avalon, you know, the thought is always, oh, if I change the tubes, I'm going to get a different sound. Not so. Not so. Let the manufacturer tell you what tubes to use. You understand? So that's what I would do if I were you. B. Smith. Okay, you a homie. B. Smith is a homie. All right, cool. You in Brooklyn. All right. Yo, y'all cutting up in Brooklyn, B. Y'all cutting up in Brooklyn, man. I'm cutting up in Brownsville. Listen, my wife works in Bushwick, so I know Brooklyn well. I know certain areas, man. I don't be flying through them streets in Brooklyn, man. You know, I'm about it, but I ain't stupid. You know, brother ain't trying to get jacked on purpose. But you know, y'all got to calm down. Every weekend is something. It ain't funny, man. This COVID got everybody bugging out, man. You know, I'm trying to make it light. But yeah, man, this is worldwide, and it ain't helping. Washington is not helping. That man in Washington is not helping us. But let's move forward. My brother Gurner is still here. He's talking about, he got the art. I mean the 163X. Yeah, the 163Xs, man. I mean, that's, man, I still got mine from like about 37 years ago. And still going strong. I got a 163X that I had when I was like, I'm old. I was with Dana at the time. That had to be that's about 37 years old. I got the original box and everything. As a matter of fact, I put it in storage the other day. Because that's another thing. Since moving this studio around, I had to pare back the equipment that I was using. And I said I want to just hold on to that unit, so I wound up putting it in storage. But that was like the 163, which was the predecessor to the 163X. And yes, that was quite a piece of equipment. And plus, it's easy to use. It's idiot-proof, you know. Reaper. Jimmy Riggs says Reaper for the win. Listen, it all gets down to all these guys got their eyes on Avid. You know, it was like, I remember when Michael Jordan was going for his first ring, and he's like, yo, I got to go through Detroit. I ain't getting it unless I go through the best. And all of these guys understand that Avid is the best, but we got our eye on you, and we coming for you. Logic, like I said, they changed the interface because they wanted it to rival Pro Tools. And now what are a lot of people using? Logic. Like I said, you think Luna, these white coats are just like silent. Oh, this is going to be just the one and only iteration of Luna. No, they are underground eyeballing Avid. They want that market share. So that's what it's getting down to. Armando is in the house. Chains Interlink says, what do you think of Ableton? I think it's good for what it's being used for with most people. I have a friend of mine, Bryant Wilder. You don't know who he is. You need to look him up he played on my record. Phenomenal bass. One of the funky, nastiest bass players here in New York. Killer. He used to play for Missy Elliott, as a matter of fact. But he's like a first call session player here in New York. Bryant Wilder. He has a new record out, as a matter of fact, on iTunes. Bryant, Bryant Wilder, Wilder, one of the funkiest guys. And when he does live gigs where he's solo, he plays his tracks on Ableton, and he uses that as an accompaniment, and he swears by. So yeah, check him out. But yeah, it's good for what a lot of guys are using it in live situations. DJs I know love Ableton. I think the interface is cute. It reminds me of I'm about to step out from underneath the covered wagon again. I forget the opcodes. Vision. For those of us of a certain age who remember Vision, when the Vision sequencer was out, that's what Ableton reminds me of. But it's very well respected amongst so many people. So yes, I do like it. KWP Drum says, "Hi Warren, I have a Claret Pre-X and I'm thinking of buying new preamps, mainly, buying a new no drums and vocals. Anyway, you're not getting rid of that Claret Pre-X, I hope. All right, don't. I'm gonna tell you the reason why. I think what Focusrite realized when they made that thing, they aimed it at professional studios, and I think they gave away too much technology, and then they realized that they did, and they pared it back when they released the new Clarets. So if you own, because these things are holding an insane amount of value, and trust it from a person who, that's one of the pre's I was looking at for this new mobile rig that I had to put together. If you own a Claret 8 Pre-X, I repeat, do not sell it. They have retained their value. They are well over $1,000 unless you just absolutely have to let it go. But I have never seen an interface retain its value more than that unit. And it's the preamps on that thing are insane. They sound great. So the only thing I would say that you should do is hold on to the interface, because the clocking and the technology built into it is great. I would augment it with maybe some outboard pre's, and you got the pick of the litter in terms of outboard pre's. You could add anything to the front end to give you a little bit more character, but letting that go, I can't see a reason why you would want to, because it's like one of the most functional, power-packed preamps on the market nowadays that has continued, even though it is discontinued, it has continued to retain its value. Hold on to it and augment it, No, I'm not. Oh, he said, I love it. I just want other preamps with different colors. Oh, sure. Then I would get a 500 series and then add preamps, but don't definitely, if you can augment that, yeah, most definitely. And if you're using it for drums, yeah, it's one of the best preamps for drums, man. I heard some drum tracking on that thing. Killer by itself, out the box, just killing, man. So, I mean, you got it made there, brother. Definitely. Here's a joke for you all. Mr. B Smith says, I have the opcode Studio 4. I do as well. I'm not letting that go because it's still functional. As a matter of fact, Lyle Mays, God rest his soul, was still using his on the last couple of Pat Metheny tours. You know what I mean? So that just tells you the value of the equipment, Oh, guys, any suggestions? This is for anybody that wants to help my brother Rodrigo out. Any suggestions on inexpensive preamps? I'll leave that one open for you all to answer based on use. And let's jump to Mr. and Mrs. Smooth. Oh, you're talking about Mr. and Mr. Smooth. If you sold that Claret 8 Pre-X, yeah, man, don't. I've been pricing them. They have been consistent. Like I said, I think Focusrite realized, I think we gave away the store here. And you look at this following iteration of it, it was all skinny and light in features. I'm like, it don't even look like a pro piece of equipment. When I was looking for one before, when I was putting the mobile rig together, it was like, dang, man, like $950, $999, $1,000. Hold on to it, man. Hold on to it. Gerner says he's still, okay, Gerner, I just bought one. The Sapphire Pro 40. Yeah, I like that. I'm really impressed. and I A/B the preamps against the Neves, and they're holding their own considering it's an all-in-one unit, you know. So this gig that I have coming up, I'm going to use a combination because I'm taking a feed from a television mix. I'm taking a feed, and I don't think it's going to give me the fatness because of the genre of music that's being recorded. I'm going to use some outboard preamps in front of it to give me some girth. But the preamps are by far some very, very impressive, rather, considering it's 8 of them you getting on board. So yes, I am very impressed with it. You know. Mr. Smooth says, yeah, listen, I've been there, man. I told you about my Auratones. Brother was about to, hitting some hard times and the phone wasn't ringing. I looked at them Auratones. I said, yo, you got to fall on the sword, B. So I sold them, and I regretted every minute of it. Every time I saw a pair of Auratones that were made in America, I was like, because here come admin telling all of them they weren't made in America, and I knew I had a real pair of Auratones. So when they announced they were coming back, I hurried, and I told my wife, you're going to have to pry these out of my dead hands because I will never, ever let those Auratones go again. So I know your pain, man. I know. So I'm going to stop talking about it. But yeah, I do know. You know? Let's see. Yeah, if B Smith is talking about the opcode, yeah, man. The Studio 4. Yeah, man, it's still useful. You just have to run it, and I'm talking about a interface. If any of you want to know what the opcode Studio 4, you can look on the internet for it. But it's very, very useful MIDI switcher, especially if you're still using a Mac computer that is able, I'm going to be careful, a Mac computer that is able to drive it, because you may need certain drivers, and you can't be on like a modern day Mac and use it, because I think it has a serial input, so you can't, there's no serial input on that unit. But yeah, man. Yeah. So any further questions? If not, I am going to head out because a brother has been blabbing for some time. We covered a bit. I hope I answered the question regarding the gain staging on the big knob for the individual that was asking that question, as well as the gain stage on the KT two-way if you're doing hip hop. It's probably not the best option. You probably be more disgusted with the outcome than not. So I'll take 1 or 2 more questions and then I got to go because I gotta cut the grass, man. Grass up there growing past the kneecaps. Can't be having that. Ninja 6485 says, so long, and my brother, I'm glad that you stopped by. I just want you to know that. And I want everybody to know that. Listen, I appreciate you guys stopping by the live stream. I know it's been a minute. Armando, it was good seeing your name up here, as well as all of you who have popped in for the first time. It's good to see some new chains interlinked. I'm glad that you stopped by the live stream. Let me shout out Jimmy Riggs, Stefano Pavone. I hope I'm Pavone, because if correct me if I'm wrong. Pavone, Stefano, thank you, my brother. Rodrigo de Macedo, my brother, thank you so much for stopping by. Mr. Pirate Brain, as always. Yes, sir. Ray Manuel Music, George Thompson, Deb. Everybody say hello to Deborah Smith, my cousin. She stopped by the live stream today, and say hello to Deb. And Mr. Smooth, as always. Thank you, my brother. I want to get back to, let me go to the top. He was one of the earlier ones. Lucas Jr. from Portugal. Love you, man. Thanks for stopping by. And Southern King Rudy. Listen, I'm glad that you raised that question because it's applicable to everything that one can do with music. Again, for those of you who want to know how to get the best sound out of your equipment, you must calibrate it to negative 18 decibel full scale at the front end, which is +4 on this end. If you do that, your tracks should translate well. And that's that. That's that. All right. Close enough. Great hang today. Yes, sir. Weather music. Oh, weather music. Okay, you too, brother, man. I appreciate you all for stopping by today. Really. It's been a minute. Next video that I will be posting, it won't be this week because this week I have like I said, I have several meetings and I have this project coming up next Saturday, which is an all-day affair. And for those of you, well, no one here has worked with me, but when I'm on a project like this, I'm very intense. I have to focus because we're talking about somebody else's money, and I don't like, dilly-dallying around with the client money. But with that in mind, I'm going to be posting a new video about why I did the studio upgrade, why you see me sitting here in what was once the control room, which is now going to be my live room, which is being totally redone for that purpose, and why I switched locations. It is going to be an eye-opener for you. Trust me on that one, because it was an eye-opener for me. And the only reason why I swapped locations, live room versus control room, was for this reason alone. Acoustics. Acoustics, and I had an analysis done. We're going to cover that topic, and I got some information for y'all that you really need to hone in on. We're going to talk about acoustical products, how I feel like a whole lot of companies is fleecing people. We'll get into it. Trust me. Trust me. There's a reason why I swapped locations. And I am absolutely loving my new control room. Loving it. The sound is incredible. It is so incredible. Like I said, I have gone back to using Auratones, and my TS10 sub can mix on it, and I feel very comfortable with the outcome of it. That's saying a lot. Okay? So, let's see. Hope to reply with positive feedback. Next time, haha. Okay. All right, man. Mr. Smooth wants to know about the new Rupert Neve unit. We'll talk about that in a future live stream. Master bus processor. Yeah, I did see that. As well as some other things with regards to that company. I'm glad you guys are raising gems, because I've been thinking about some things with regards to that company as well. Okay. Warren, I'll contact you in future, but still trying to okay. Okay, listen, and again, if any of you guys have any questions about anything that we discussed today, please feel free to reach out to me. The email is in the About tab, and we'll chat. I just wanted to chop it up with you all today and let you know that I am still alive. Finally getting back to work this week. Not in the studio. That'll be a post-production situation, but I have a live production that I'm working on that will wind up in post very, very soon. So, again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and don't forget to say hello to the family from me.